Hello, everyone. This is Pradeep Khanna from Sydney in Australia. We are at 1 a.m. in Sydney, and this is GCC session episode number 10. GCC is a global engagement initiative which is working to set up a truly global value adding community of IIT Delhi alumni. We started a couple of months back and we have built up a huge global platform. We have about 40 plus alumni from all over the world who are working to take this initiative to the next level. GCC episode 10 is going to be an interesting session. We have, first of all, a session to facilitate Ambassador Pradeep Kapur for being awarded the Indo-US Press Club Literary Award. Followed by that, we will have a chat with an IIT Delhi alumni who has been listed among the top 50 CEOs worldwide of Indian origin. This has been a mystery up to now. So let me demystify. This gentleman is Rakesh Sachdev, 1977 BTech from IIT Delhi. And let me leave it at that because there is lots to talk about him. I'll pick up the threads, and then we also have Aparna Sarogi. Aparna Sarogi is a 2006 MBA from IIT Delhi. While she's got a whole professional career that she is working for, but she is more well known for WEE, that is Women Entrepreneurship and Empowerment. She has created waves starting this in 2016. And last but not the least, we have Dr. Updesh Verma. He is a member of EC for IIT Delhi Alumni Association. But more important is he is a PhD from IIT Delhi and is involved in heaps of interesting initiatives. So with that, let me kickstart the session. And I see that Pradeep Kapur has not joined in as yet. So let me kickstart the session with Rakesh Sachdev. Rakesh, can you please raise your hand? And can everybody give a big round of applause to Rakesh? Rakesh, you will need to unmute yourself as I have muted everybody else. Rakesh did
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay.
So Rakesh did his BTech from IIT Delhi in 1977. So Rakesh is my batchmate from IIT Delhi. He did his master's from University of Illinois in 1981. He later on also did his MBA from Indiana University in 1986. There is so much to talk about Rakesh. In fact, when I got in touch with him recently, I was very pleasantly surprised. He is at the moment chairman of boards as well as board members of 4 different companies with revenues in excess of $18 billion. He has also been on the board of trustees. Folks, can you please mute? Let me mute all. Rakesh has also been a board member of Federal Reserve Board of St. Louis. Rakesh is also on the board of trustees of Washington University in St. Louis. He has been CEO of companies in excess of $3 billion, $4 billion, and mind you, all these companies have been listed companies, and the range of companies is absolutely fabulous. So I'm delighted to welcome Rakesh today. What really is amazing about this class fellow of mine is what a humble man he is. Rakesh, I'm keen to understand for starting your journey post IIT, what exactly happened? And how did you have so many achievements and man, you've never even felt the need to talk about them. It's absolutely amazing. So over to you, Rakesh. Tell us about your
So,
journey post IIT Delhi.
first of all, I'm really humbled and somewhat embarrassed with the introduction. But listen, first of all, I want to thank you because I can see the clock behind you, and it's past 1 o'clock in the morning in Australia. And kudos to you for doing this and making the time work for everybody else and inconveniencing you. So, really appreciate it. Listen, my story is no different than most IIT alumni. We all stumbled, we all had disappointments, we've all persevering. IIT taught us a lot. I grew up my father was in the railways. We moved around all the time early on. And, after IIT, I worked for a year at Larsen and Toubro in Bombay. And like most IITians at the time, I wanted to do an MBA, so I joined IIM Calcutta. But at the same time, I'd got admission in the US, and I was really torn between whether I stay in IIM, finish that, or anyway, I made a decision. I don't know if it was the right one or not, but I decided to come to the US, and it wasn't for an MBA. It was actually for a master's in engineering. And I thought maybe down the road I'll do an MBA, which I ended up doing. But it's interesting. Most of us didn't have much money. I remember my dad borrowed $900 from the Tata Trust to give me a check and said, "That's all I have to give you. So, I hope you can manage on your own." So, many of us came to the US, and I remember landing that was my first plane ride in the August of '77. I'd never flown on a plane, and my first ride was to the US. It was amazing. And, I got lucky. When I look back at my career, I think most of us would say, there are several things that sort of allowed you to become somewhat successful. I think, as you said, being humble is a great trait of Indians. We don't really like to boast. And I think we're also, as IITians, are very intellectually curious. I always have considered myself as a student for life. I'm always trying to learn from other people. And there's so much to learn because, as you pointed out, Pradeep, I've crossed different industries and I felt very humbled to learn from some really great folks. And of course, at the end of the day, being at the right place at the right time makes a difference. And I think that's happened with me. And also setbacks are very important because they give you the courage to, stand up and do things that you didn't do if you didn't have any setbacks. So, I look back and it's been a culmination of many things, and I'm just very fortunate that I've been able to make somewhat of a difference not just in my career, but more importantly, in the career of many other people who worked with me, for me, which gives me probably the greatest satisfaction.
Rakesh, when did you become the first time as a CEO of a $1 billion+ company?
So I'll give you a little context. I spent most of my early years working for industrial and automotive companies in the US. I started my career at a company called Cummins, which is also in India, called Cummins Engine Company. And I was a mechanical engineer. I started off in research, but I really wanted to get into the business world. I remember after I did my MBA, which I did at night, I would drive 100 miles every night back and forth for 3 years to do my MBA. And I would knock on doors of people in the company saying, hey, will you give me an opportunity to be in marketing or finance? And nobody took me seriously because they thought I was a great engineer. And they said, no, you should just stay in the research labs. And, you know, fortunately, there was someone who gave me a break, and I got into a small finance role. And I got some visibility with the chairman of the company on a project. And then it was just, I must have made an impression. And before I knew it, I was in corporate strategy and had squarely gone into the business world. And, and people take risks on you. And somebody took a risk on me to send me to uh, Mexico. And I became president of Cummins in Mexico, which was one of the top 100 companies in Mexico. I was in my early 30s, and I was learning like crazy. It was just unbelievable. Uh, but my real break came. I'll tell you, I left Cummins and I joined another company called Meritor, which was a public company that had just been spun off. And the CEO was looking to building a team, and I wanted to run a global business. And so I did that. And we grew that company to almost $10 billion in sales in about 3 or 4 years. And then I lived in Shanghai for a while, ran all the Asian operations. But when I was there, I had India and Australia all operations under me. In 2008, Pradeep, I was going to a board meeting in Mysore. I was in a helicopter with one of my partners. I don't know if you know Baba Kalyani. He's an Indian industrialist. So Baba and I were in a helicopter flying from Bangalore to Mysore, and the helicopter crashed. And luckily nobody died. I had some serious injuries. I fractured my skull. I ripped off my ear, and it took me a long time to recuperate in Mysore because I was hospitalized there. And then I came back. I came back to the US. I had a new lease on life. It was just, I completely decided that I would look at life differently. And this was in 2008. The recession had taken place. I got a call one day from a company that was in the life science biotech space, and they were looking for a CFO. Now, I'm not a chartered accountant. I didn't even know what life science was at the time. I never studied biology, but I thought this is a great moment to learn something new, because this was a company that was producing products for the pharma industry, was doing lots of work for drug discovery, for drug production. And I said, why not? I just survived. I've got a new lease on life. Let's do something different. So I joined this company called Sigma Aldrich, which was a Fortune 500 company on the S&P 500 in the US. Tremendous company, over 200,000 products for pharma. We went to gene editing, we're doing vaccines, very, very complicated stuff. And for the first 2 years while I was a CFO, they gave me a responsibility for some international operations as a way to learn the business. And I was drinking from a fire hose. I mean, it was just amazing. And unfortunately, 2 years into my journey, something else happened. One Saturday morning, my CEO had a heart attack and died. And I was in LA. I just boarded a flight. And I remember getting a call from my general counsel saying, can you talk? Our CEO has just passed away. And we have to call a board meeting, and you need to be on that call. And I said, I'm sorry, they just closed the gates. And I'll talk to you when I land. And by the time I landed 4 hours later, the board had already met. And I was really humbled because they had elected me as the permanent CEO of the company. I had no idea because we had so many more capable people than I was, I thought. Uh, people who were very accomplished scientists, and because this was a science-based company. And and that really began a journey for me in terms of being humbled, and the good thing was I didn't know much about the industry as much as most of my peers, so I asked stupid questions all the time. And we took the company in different directions. We took it into diagnostics. We made it a very valuable company. It was already a $5 billion company in market cap. In 4 years, we took it to about 12 billion. Unfortunately, we caught the eye of Merck, and Merck said, wow, this is a company that we want to buy, we want to emulate. And I remember the chairman of Merck, he came to me one day and said, would you join hands with us? And I said, we're doing fine independently. But anyway, to cut a long story short, they offered us another $5 billion, and the industrial logic was very strong, and we sold the company. And it's
Wow.
right now, it was the largest acquisition of Merck in their history. And at that point, Pradeep, I said, I've done a lot. It's been a great journey, and I'll sort of retire. I moved to Florida, which is where I am, by the way. But then within a few weeks, I was still too young. I said, no, I want to do something different. And so I took on another role of a CEO of another New York Stock Exchange company that was based in Florida. It was a specialty chemicals company. And I decided I'd do that for a while. I did that for 3 years. And then retired last year. And that was a great run. It was a completely different company. And now I'm see myself more as a coach. As you pointed out, I'm on the board of 4 public companies. I'm also on the board of a few private companies. I'm advising some private equity companies in New York. And it's all good. I don't have the headaches of running a day-to-day business. But to me right now, it's all about how to make younger people successful. How do I coach new CEOs or becoming CEOs of public companies, and how do
So,
I
so
impart?
let me pick you up on this particular point. And there is a question which Kalpen has raised, and he's asking that what is your one-line advice to young executives?
My advice is don't get too comfortable with anything that you do. I have always I thought that try and get out of your comfort zone, because if people get too comfortable in what they do, then you don't want to take a leap forward to doing something different or something more. And I think that, along with just be intellectually curious, because all of you who are coming from IIT are obviously very, very intelligent folks. And everybody works hard, right? So that's a given. There are a few things that are a given. You have to work hard, be humble, but try and get out of your comfort zone every now and then, because if you get too comfortable in the things that you do, you're probably not going to progress as much.
That is, of course, that is the new normal. Anyway, I agree with you. But you see, I mean, by and large, I mean, I remember the time when we joined IIT. IITs used to take 2,000 students around ballpark every year. Today, with the IITs, number of IITs, I don't even know how many IITs are there at the moment, but I'm sure it must be in thousands. So everybody, yes, is at least meeting a certain level of curiosity, a level of, what should I say, interest and passion. But what is the mantra? Is it just being at the right place at the right time, that when you just about, try and catch as many flights and hope that somebody will call you when you're just about to board the flight?
Yeah, Pradeep, it's not just one thing, right? I mean, as you just said, you used a word. If you have to be passionate about what you do, right? I mean, if you're really passionate about what you do, course, you need the stars aligned. There have to be the opportunities that open up for you. And typically there's always somebody who has helped somebody. And if you look back at careers, somebody took a risk on you, and without that, you sometimes wouldn't get the breaks. And I look back at my career, and people took a risk on me, and I think about, I've done that with people who worked for me. I've a lot of people who worked for me who are now CEOs of public companies in the US, because I decided to take a risk on them because I knew they had the ability to get there.
It's just absolutely fabulous. See, and I also get amazed when I look at simply the range of industries that you worked in. You're at the moment chairman of a board of a company which is into electrical, motors and those kind of equipment. On the other hand, you're also into, a board member for life sciences. You've been in executive roles. As you move across different industries, do you have to go through a learning curve every time?
Yeah, I mean, I see. It depends. To me, I get, excited about looking at different things. I've been, as you said, involved with industrial companies. I'm the chairman of this company that makes. It's a very large global electric motors generators company. I'm on the board of a consumer packaged company. We own Sheck and Wilkinson Sword and Banana Boat and Hawaiian Tropic, and it's very interesting. One day I'm sitting trying to think through consumer packaged goods to industrial to life science to biotech, and I think that keeps you young. It keeps your mind active. But you have to want to learn about different things and new things. Being a board member, there are certain things that is common between different companies or public companies. There's governance issues and all that, but that's not what excites me to be on the board. It's really to help these companies think through the strategy and how these companies can grow and create value for their employees and for their shareholders. I mean, that's what's exciting.
So, on another front, you were also a member of the federal, not the federal, but a state reserve board. Now,
No,
how?
I was no, that was the, so just so you know that the Federal Reserve Bank in the US
Yes.
is comprised of 12 Federal Reserve Banks. So there's a Federal
Yes.
Reserve Bank of New York,
Yes.
Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco, of St. Louis, and I was chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. So reported directly into, at the time, Janet Yellen. So.
Oh, wow. So you were one of those 12 people who was making those decisions about interest rate cuts and all that kind of stuff?
So the CEO of the Federal Reserve, I was the chairman. The CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank who worked for us, a guy by the name of Jim Bullard, who's still actually the CEO, he was on the voting committee of the Federal Reserve Bank. So yes, so they were, essentially we influenced the decisions on what to do with interest rates that the Federal Reserve Bank did.
So in these meetings, did you have to just kind of look knowledgeable and scratch your chin or something like that? And, that's how everything happened?
This is one board where I think I got more from the company than I was able to give to them. All these Federal Reserve Banks have some huge research arms, and they do a lot of economic research. And even though I think most of us are not economists, but we can understand, because at the end of the day, it's, in fact, even the chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank today is not an economist. In fact, he and I worked together when I was in the chairman in St. Louis. He's a business guy. He's Jay Powell came from a private equity company called Carlyle, and so he puts a business lens on the economic issues and practical issues. And I think he's a, he was a great choice, and he's doing a great job.
So let me again switch tracks. That you were also on the board of a university. Hmm. Now, how different was that as compared to the Federal Reserve Board?
It's very different. When you're on the board, when you're involved with any university. And by the way, the reason I got involved with University of uh, Washington, Washington University in St. Louis, is because I lived in St. Louis at the time, and as a company, we did a lot of work with the school. And by the way, it's a great school. It's got one of the best medical schools in the country. It's at par with Johns Hopkins. It's got a great MBA program. It's a private school, but it's a great school. And we started a program. We started an MBA program with IIT Bombay and Washington University.
Wow!
It's the first MBA program that IIT Bombay offers jointly with a US university. And so we were quite instrumental in doing things like that, trying to get these universities to become more international in scope. And so that was some of my small contributions. I wish we had done it with IIT Delhi, but the ball was already rolling with
IIT Bombay.
IIT Mumbai. And the director of IIT Bombay was a guy that I knew well, Devang Thakkar.
Oh yes, he's also IIT Delhi alumni.
Yeah, so Devang was the director of IIT Bombay, and it kind of worked out well. So
Fabulous. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you over, Rakesh, and I look forward to getting you in whatever time that you have with you in this global initiative that we are driving. Because end of the day, you see that it's just so fabulous, a sheer breadth of range of people that we've been kind of meeting across and kind of looking at what stories. It's very phenomenal. It's also inspirational for a young lads at the moment. And the interesting bit is the director of IIT Delhi and the deans, they came to Australia. And I had been quite disconnected with the IITs, and I'm talking of 2020 March. And he was telling me stories about how IIT Delhi has changed. He says now every second application that he comes across, people want to be startups. People, while they are in IIT Delhi itself, have started and sold startups. He told me that the postgraduate percentage in IIT Delhi is almost 50%. At our time, there used to be only 2 hostels, Vindhyachal and Shivalik. He said the number of girls are almost 20% now. You remember there used to be only one hostel called, Nalanda. No, not Nalanda. What is that? Kailash. And we've got a batchmate Shashi Chawla also on the line over here. And so so it would be lovely to get you more involved. And any questions that you would like to ask, I would welcome that. Over to you, Rakesh, once again.
Pradeep, once again, I'm really very appreciative for you giving us the opportunity to talk in all these sessions. But what I'd say to all the folks is, if I can help in any way and help you think through your career moves, drop me a line. Pradeep has my email. I can shoot it to you guys. I'm pretty good at responding. So if there's anything that I can do from my end in a small way, would be happy to help all my IIT alumni friends.
So sweet. A big round of applause for Rakesh.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry that Pradeep Kapur didn't join.
He has.
I am very much here. I've been listening to your life journey. Thank you.
Pradeep,
so fascinating.
I have not seen you I wanted to actually say hello to you because we haven't talked in almost 40 years. So
Indeed. Such a pleasure to see you today and looking so good and doing so good. I'm so impressed, man. Awesome.
No, thank you, and same to you, and congratulations to you for the award and everything that you accomplished, because I've followed you and had a great deal of respect of what you have achieved. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. But and what you have achieved is absolutely phenomenal. It's such an inspiration to all the youth. It's amazing. Yeah.
So with 1977 alumni and inspirational alumni, we go over to another 1977 inspirational alumni, Ambassador Pradeep Kapur, जिसको हम प्यार से पीके बुलाते हैं. Pradeep did his BTech in 1977. Then he did his MTech. He's a GCC ambassador, so he has been here before. But it's the other aspects of the other, qualities that I keep hearing about, Pradeep, which make him, come back time and again. Yes, he has been a secretary with the government of India. He joined IFS in 1979 after doing his MTech from IIT Delhi. And yes, he has been ambassador for a number of countries, right from Asia to America and across the world. He's had a number of very, very interesting positions. But more importantly, what I find is that he is also a very strong and he has a very good give back value proposition, or his thoughts are always in terms of what he can do for the community. He's very actively involved in the Wheels Pan IIT Association, or which is a social arm of Pan IIT based in US. He also is very literary figure. He recently wrote a book on the COVID pandemic and beyond. The book is available on Amazon, and it was this literary and other works of his that he was given an award by Indo-US Press Club Literary Award 2020. So I facilitate you, Pradeep. I'm proud to be of your batchmate, and I'm more important to look at the kind of batchmates we are talking to today. And with this, I want you to talk about a little bit about this book that you have written, and I also want you to talk about this work that you're doing with Man IIT, as well as the teaching activities that you do for a number of universities in US as well as in India. So over to you, Pradeep. And first of all, a big round of applause for Ambassador Pradeep Kapur.
To Rakesh, Rakesh Sachdev, Rakesh. So thank you, Pradeep, for the introduction. It's always one of the greatest pleasures in this life and existence to interact with friends, and friends like you in particular. I've enjoyed each and every moment during your visits to the US and during my visits to your house in Sydney. And those are very cherished memories, cherished moments. And thank you also for the great work that you're doing. And it's absolutely phenomenal. It's amazing. 1 a.m. Sydney time, 4 a.m. Sydney time, 2 a.m. Sydney time, we have had chats and you are absolutely wide awake and, at it. Working, giving. Hats off to you. So good to interact with our friends here. I see some very close friends who have been in touch, who have been batchmates also and friends also for a very long time. Yogesh, Amardev Sarma, Shashi, you of course, Pradeep, Rakesh, and some of the others I guess I'll get to know better as we go along. But thank you for this opportunity. So the book we have written is Beyond COVID, Envisioning a Better World by Transforming the Future of Healthcare. So we have had some launches already. So let me see if I can put this thing in spite of the screen problem. How do I get it onto the screen? I'll switch off the screen and get it. That'll be easier. Then it'll be easier to just show it. Let me just choose a neutral background. Yeah. So this is the book.
Fabulous.
Beyond COVID. Yeah. Envisioning a better world by transforming the future of healthcare. So this has been written in collaboration with a friend of ours who's a physician, Dr. Joseph Chalil. So we got inspired. I have written about 5 books earlier. I had a very checkered career in book writing, in the sense that my first book came out of a big clash I had with the government of India. Because when I joined in Nepal as minister, which is with the rank of an ambassador, in 1998, I was the first foreign service officer to be given the post of head of the economic aid and assistance to Nepal. For the earlier 50 years, it had been handled always by an IAS officer or an Indian audit and account officer. So their way of working was very different. And our way of working in the foreign service was very different. And my way of working was even more different than from the normal IFS officers. So when I started looking after this aid to Nepal, I realized that the bookkeeping for the past aid had been very, very poor. In the Indian Embassy in Nepal, in the Ministry of External Affairs in India, in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Nepal, in the Embassy of Nepal in India, everywhere. So what triggered off that book and then my entire literary career in book writing was the following: that, just as a very quick example, before we get on to the present book, India has done the maximum in healthcare or in infrastructure or any sector of any country in Nepal. No Indian knew about it. And even today, many do not know about it. So there is this huge road which is called the East-West Highway, 1024 kilometers from eastern Nepal to western Nepal. It stretches as a good straight line highway. I traveled on it many times after joining there as minister. And I saw huge banners and arches, permanent arches on the road, built with USAID aid, built with Russian aid, built with Chinese aid, built with Polish aid, built with 40 countries aid. Swedish, Germany, Canada, Japan, Australia, every country in the sun. Not a single banner built with Indian aid. So you travel that 1024 kilometers, the mental impression is that 80% of that road or 90% of the road has been built by foreign agencies other than India, and India has done nothing, and Nepal may have done some parts of it. So I started getting into it in detail because we were building the eastern extremity, western extremity of that in wild territory, in the most difficult, inaccessible territory in the Himalayas when I took over. 22 bridges as the western extremity of that East-West Highway. So I started asking my people in the embassy how much we had built. So they said, oh sir, we may have built about 100, 200 kilometers. I started asking outside people, they said, oh, 25 kilometers India may have built over the last 50 years. Then I said, okay, let us put it all together. So I asked my ministry to give me all the data. And they said, you know, Pradeep, you don't understand. Indian aid is not premised upon talking about our aid. We give aid, but we don't want to talk about it. So we don't want to discuss this. So you please continue with your work and don't get into this territory. So I said, no, if I've taken over as the head in charge of all this huge economic aid and assistance worth 200 crores, which are giving me the budget, I want to know what is the past history. So I started digging and persisted in my fight with the ministry, and they sort of thought of me as a very rebellious officer, and I didn't give up because I was convinced about my interest. So the fight continued and the discussion continued, and we realized over time, after putting together all the material, that we had built a huge chunk of the East-West highway. Out of the 1024 kilometers, if I have to ask you in this group to guess, none of you would be able to guess, except maybe Yogesh, because he's heard parts of the story earlier. So I decided to put it out in a book form, which I titled as Profiles of Partnership, 50 Years of India-Nepal Cooperation. That was my first big book. The government refused to support the project. I said, I want 4 lakh rupees for getting the book across to a very wide audience in Nepal. The fight persisted and finally they agreed. They said that, okay. I said, it's a document. It's not a propaganda. It is for our officers also in the embassy to understand what we have done so that we can take our projects ahead for the future and to see what have been the big failures and what is successful, what works, what doesn't work. So finally, after a large number of meetings with the ambassador at that time supported me completely, the Prime Minister's office supported me. Ultimately, the government of India relented and gave me 4 lakh rupees. The book came out, and the book I had written, 700 kilometers of the East-West highway was made by India. 1024 kilometer story. The day the book was launched, there was massive coverage in the entire national mainstream media of Nepal and quite a bit of India. Because for the first time, people in India realized that almost every airport in Nepal is built by India. Most of the educational institutes, the main university in Kathmandu, Tribhuvan University, most of the hospitals, the post offices, roads, schools, etc., 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 which had done a lot of groundwork to do a lot of research and understand. And it was not at all collated or put together anywhere. So the minister of PWD comes up to me in that event in front of the dignitaries, there are large numbers, all ambassadors posted in Nepal, all previous prime ministers of Nepal. He tells me, अरे कपूर साहब आपने तो बुक तो छाप दिया है बट उसमें आपने एक गलती कर दिया है. तो हमने कहा सर बता दीजिए क्या गलती क्या है, करेक्ट कर देंगे नेक्स्ट एडिशन में. So he says that the figure you put 700 kilometers is wrong. So everybody sort of, the media people, everybody got very alerted. The minister is now going to come up with something interesting as a story for them for the next day's papers. So he said, वो तो 800 किलोमीटर है, आपका कैलकुलेशन कंप्लीट नहीं है, आप हमारे ऑफिस में आइए और बाकी का जो So can you imagine? That is the way aid was done. We put together like a lot of human interest stories, including from our own IIT batchmates, friends, others who had worked in Nepal as engineers over the years and had not recorded their journey in Nepal or their experiences. So they put together those stories. So we interspersed the book with a lot of human interest stories, including data, statistics, and facts. And today that book has become the template for Indian aid to Afghanistan, Indian aid to Sri Lanka, Indian aid to Bhutan, etc. So we talk about in a factual manner. We do not make it a sort of a propaganda blast. It becomes a very long life on the shelf sort of publication. And the people who then work in these areas understand what we have been doing and what we need to do. Because our philosophy was the earlier philosophy of Buddhism and Hinduism that you lose the merit when you have vested interest in your aid. So here we said we don't have vested interest in the aid for the purpose of aid or propaganda or announcing to the world. We have vested interest in the aid to understand ourselves better for the future and how to implement things better. So after that, I wrote a series of books, India, ASEAN, when I was ambassador in Cambodia, then India of My Dreams, which was co-authored with, co-edited with my boss in Delhi at that time in the Foreign Service Institute, where we had luminaries, including Nobel laureates and all, who came in and spoke in India about the India of their dreams. Large number of luminaries. So that is still doing very, very well with the ambassadors who get posted to India to understand India better. Then the World Heritage Sites, connecting World Heritage Sites and civilizations. So most of the books I wrote were not on hardcore politics or strategy, which has been my main core area of interest, but that was for the world to know India better and for the Indians to know India better and the world better. So the last book we have written is again in the same line, in the sense when COVID hit, we realized the whole world has changed and the new world is going to be a different ball game altogether. And the critical sector which will impact the conversation globally going ahead is the healthcare sector, for at least the aspect of how to cope with future pandemics, future bioterrorism, weapons wars, future natural disasters, etc., all of which have similar impacts in so many ways. So we started understanding about the healthcare systems in countries like US, Canada, UK, India. These are the 4 countries of focus. And then we sort of decided on some models which can be applied to the US and globally as future healthcare models, where if I am working as ambassador in Chile and one of my local staff who's very important in my scheme of things for my work, he comes to my office and he's coughing and sneezing and with a cold and flu and all that, and he's in that condition for many days. And I asked him, why are you not getting treated? Are you going to the hospital? He says, no. I said, have you seen a doctor? He says, no. I said, how many days have you been with this severe sort of cough and flu and everything? He says, oh, maybe 5-6 days. I said, why don't you see a doctor? He says, it's very costly. I said, do you have insurance? He says, yes, I have insurance. I said, why don't you see the doctor? He says, the copay is very high. So the world suffers from healthcare crisis for many reasons. And in different countries, it is different reasons. In different countries, is also similar reasons. So insurance, what we realized in broad terms are the following, that the insurance industry has sort of co-opted the healthcare delivery systems in advanced countries to a very great extent. So a large number of middle income group people or the lower income group people in these countries, including USA, can rarely afford good quality healthcare access to good quality healthcare. They wait till the last moment. They wait for the disease to disappear. They wait for the disease to intensify. When they cannot manage it on their own, then they go, because of the way the whole thing is structured today. India has its own problems of numbers, own problems of resources. But if you compare it on a person-to-person basis, India fares very well in many respects, because even the poorest person can get access to healthcare in Safdarjung Hospital, in Ram Manohar Lohia Hospital, in so many public hospitals all over the country by paying 50 rupees or something, or paying nothing at all if he says he does not have the money to pay. Indian hospitals, private hospitals also have the responsibility and duty to give free healthcare to a lot of people in India by statute. They don't do it completely as they should be doing it. But a poor person can go to the best private hospital in India, Apollo, Fortis, Max, whatever group he wants, and demand healthcare free. This is written in the contract and license for all these private hospitals, that this is the percentage of healthcare which they will deliver free to the poor people. So there are more, and Prime Minister's recent health yojnas, PMJ or whatever it is in the health sector, and the unique health ID initiative. We have discussed in the book about this unique health ID also. These are going to be very great initiatives for healthcare, because we also realized that the problems are like specific to countries also, which I don't want to get into. That's more in the book. So it's more interesting for you to read in the book. But general also. So we have seen how even at the, not the country level only, at the regional level or the global level, healthcare management, healthcare systems, healthcare awareness, healthcare understanding, healthcare delivery gets corrupted. as we saw in this COVID pandemic, because China was able to influence WHO that do not declare this a pandemic till we tell you to declare it a pandemic. Do not do this, do not do that, do this, do that. And the WHO was doing that under the influence of China. So the situation got much worse for the world because of this influence. So in the book, we have discussed about some geopolitical aspects as to how to cope with these sort of malified interventions in the future, which can impact the global scenarios, not only in healthcare. We have talked a little bit about the UN also, the permanent seat in the Security Council, the reforms at the UN. So we have said that some of these institutions now need to be recast or trashed, and new ones need to be invented in their place. So that is the argument we have built up on in the book. But that is about the book. What else would you like me to discuss here, Pradeep?
So there are some interesting questions coming up which are in regard to how the healthcare in India should be improved upon, on privatization of healthcare. But in the interest of time, I will have to call this session to an end and invite you once again on a discussion which is specifically focused, because it is obvious that the topic that you have touched upon is not only very topical, but is very engaging. So simply in the interest of time, I will end this session and a big round of applause for Pradeep Kapur. And I'm proud of you, like I'm proud of Rakesh Sachdev. And it is what certain examples that you're setting is what motivates me and gives me the energy to, kind of be awake at 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock kind of a thing. So that's all what it is. And please give a round of applause to Ambassador Pradeep Kapur.
So Pradeep, one comment for everybody here is that since we are all mostly, I guess all, not mostly, but entirely IIT alumni, I'm putting up this banner behind which you mentioned very briefly about wheels, including for Rakesh Sachdev, to explore a little bit more about wheels, WHEELS, W for water, H for healthcare, E for education, E for energy, L for rural livelihoods, S for sustainability. It's a very interesting initiative by IIT alumni in the US and in India. Yogesh is a board member. So we are doing a lot of work as a pilot project in Gujarat. A lot of details are available on the website, wheelsglobal.org. But a lot of things are being done which are not on the website. A lot of IITians are collaborating. It was born out of an initiative of a very noble mind, President Abdul Kalam. He came to US, he met the Pan IIT alumni. He said, "Bhai, tum log मेरे को स्टोरी सुना रहे हो कि तुमने ये कर दिया, तुमने वो कर दिया, बट ये अपने देश के लिए तुम क्या कर रहे हो जो तुम्हारी जन्मभूमि है?" So that was the question he posed. So out of that was born this wheels as a response to that question, and we are now engaged because the IIT alumni are very prominently present in the government of India as the IAS officer strength. Today takes in approximately 65% engineers for the last 15 years from engineering background and mostly from IITs. So a large number of secretaries in the government of India, joint secretaries, additional secretaries, under secretaries, deputy secretaries, directors are all IIT alumni. A large number of ambassadors of India and embassy, first secretaries, second secretaries, third secretaries, councillors, ministers are IIT alumni. A large number of NGOs in the US and in India at the senior most decision-making level are IIT alumni. And of course, a corporate sector, a large number of IIT alumni are at the C-suite level, like we learned also today from Rakesh Sachdev. And we are coordinating with the IIT system itself, the IIT faculty, the IIT directors, the IIT students, and the IIT alumni. The IIT students are a major core area of interest for Wheels because we have been taking large numbers from IIT Tirupati, IIT Bombay, IIT Gandhinagar to a pilot project where if we are able to inspire 1, 2, 5, 10 students to looking at rural development closely, that is the future of India. And we are very happy to have achieved that. We have taken 120 students from IIT Bombay and Gandhinagar a few months back. They've come up with many business before COVID. They've come up with many business proposals, startups, stories, etc. So all that is happening, but it's a very interesting initiative which has a lot of ramifications and a lot of possibilities. So we want you to enter this dream for enlarging the
So
future potential
let me
possibilities.
kind of mention this to you, Pradeep, that you see, when I look at the alumni span, which is from 1966 graduates to 2020 graduates, people who are from the first batch and very up to the early 80s batch have a very philanthropic mindset. They have, they want to give back, they want to do something for the community, etc. And we're already kind of looking at creating very, different special interest groups to cater to this wide audience. Let me have a chat with you later down and see that how can we kind of channelize this and make 1 plus 1 is equal to 11.
Okay, so Pradeep, just now Somnath has put on this chat
Hmm.
that during the IIT Delhi convocation today, PM Modi mentioned about IIT alumni webinar. So that is another webinar series which the Wheels has started. Thank you, Somnath, for letting us know. We didn't hear that directly from the Prime Minister, but the Prime Minister has also agreed to come and participate in the Pan IIT alumni, Pan IIT USA, which is a 50,000 strong body in December 4th and 5th. On December 4th, the Prime Minister has agreed to come and address that. And I'm helping coordinate that aspect of it. But we are very fortunate to have got this confirmation from the Prime Minister's office. And for him to have mentioned this webinar, it's a thought leadership webinar which we have started. And it's going extremely well. The next one is on 13th November, which we'll request all of you to join. It's about measurement, assessment, evaluation of social impact in what you do on the ground.
So thank you very much. And once again, a big round of applause. And let's pick up the discussion threads after this, both in terms of how best, we can, because IIT Delhi community itself is 52,000 people. And what we are finding is that there are a large number of people who are not connected at all. And that's why the objective of this initiative is to really make it the value creating, because if it doesn't add value, then it'll just drop off the radar. So that is where it is going towards. And we will pick up the discussion. Official, Pan IIT event, which is happening, that happens every year. So that will keep going happening. But where I'm wanting to focus is that the 52,000 IIT Delhi alumni, how do we kind of create a value adding, proposition? How do we leverage different things which are going on all over the world and provide value to the vast range of alumni? So once again, bye for now. And now moving from Florida, the state which Donald Trump won, where our gentleman friend Rakesh Sachdev lives. From there, we went to Maryland. I don't know what is happening in Maryland in the election side. This is where Pradeep Kapur lives. From there, I want to head over to New Delhi and on a different note, talk about a young IIT Delhi alumni and young by our standards. And I want to introduce to you Aparna Sarogi. Aparna Sarogi is 2006 MBA from IIT Delhi. She has a day job where she is the head of risk controls at NatWest Markets. So very much into the thick of it. But she has another interesting personality. and she has founded in 2016 an initiative focused on women entrepreneurship and empowerment. That initiative has gone from strength to strength. So I want to introduce Aparna to you and to understand from Aparna what has been her journey post IIT, what made her go down the WEE path, and what is happening now. A big round of applause for Aparna. I know that she was having a lot of problem in connecting through Zoom, and let me see whether Aparna is there or not there, or has she dropped out, or what exactly is happening. Aparna, are you there? Looks like she has dropped out again. Amardev Sharma, Aparna. Well, let me send a message to her again and see whether she's able to join up again. In the meanwhile, we'll move across to the next person on the agenda today. And I'm delighted to introduce to you Dr. Updesh Verma. Updesh has done his PhD from IIT Delhi, and he is an associate professor at the institute which is called NKRGDC. Now, what does this stand for? I will ask Updesh to amplify. But what I really love about Updesh is that he is involved into a whole lot of interesting initiatives, right from STEM to education to welfare and a whole lot of other things. So please give a round of applause to Updesh. Updesh, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for
Updesh, if you can first tell us how has been your journey post IIT? What do you do now? And some of the initiatives that you're involved in.
Okay, I have made some slides. So can I share that slides?
Absolutely.
Okay, sir. So I think, is it visible to all?
It is. It is.
Okay. So thank you very much, Pradeep sir, and all the dignitaries present here. And I am very much overwhelmed to listen all the speakers and providing this platform to let you know about my journey from a small village from Greater Noida that is called the Parsol, Bhatta Parsol. This is a very famous village in India because something happens in the past in this village. And from this village to the IIT Delhi, and then to Princeton University, and then back to India, and doing some social work, as like our Prime Minister also today told that IITians or everybody has to give back to the society. So like while teaching, doing my job as a teacher of physics at the government, this is called the Manevar Kashinam Government Degree College in Ghaziabad. I am also associated with various social initiatives which are going into in NCR areas. Also, like I am a regional representative of ISTM, which is a Prime Minister Office initiative, and also a BRICS YSF and a Young Scientific Forum alumni. Our initiative is NEEV, that is called National Education Enrichment in Villages. Also the past Senate member and treasurer, as well as joint secretary of IIT Delhi Alumni Association, and visiting scientist at Princeton Plasma Physics Laboratory at Princeton University. So these are some pics. So I will, because like Pradeep sir has given me only 10 minutes, so I will brief it, my journey into some pictures, which comprises of my journey to the IIT. Then these what we have done in IIT Delhi, and then again to the America, then back to this social work. So from this, actually, what happens, like in villages, there is no guidance, proper guidance. So what we have to do, what we have not to do. So just by seeing all the uh, fellow kids, the people, the student start doing things. So I did the same thing. So from village, we went to the Meerut, and I started my studies there at government inter college at Meerut. Then from government inter college, I went to university to study my masters in physics as well as MPhil. And from there, I because at that time I don't know about IIT, because nobody from my university was there. But I heard that it is a very like good place, and it's getting into IIT is very tough. So but how to be there after passing out the post graduation, it was like really challenge. But I came to know that there were like certain examinations like NET and JRF. So I and GATE as well. So I qualified that exam, and I get into the IIT. And like IIT Delhi changes everything in my life, because by getting it, because in very first few days I was like very much nervous, because that was my first time when I was away from my home. And there was also like homesickness type of things, which I think mostly uh, students have while being at uh, out from their home. So generally I uh, usually up down from my home, which is in Meerut, to IIT Delhi. But after like 6 months, it was like little bit okay for me. And then I adjusted there over there. And like there was a good interesting story. In 2006 there was some agitation was going on in IIT Delhi, and Professor Surendra Prasad was the director at that time. And he went to this agitation place and asked a person about his name, like, okay, Mr. So and so, come up, and what is the problem, something like that. So I was like really amazed, like, okay, the director of this big institute knows that person by his name. So it's like really very great achievement for that student. So at that time I decided, okay, I have also will do something so that at least IIT director will know my name. And when I like passed out from IIT, really IIT directors and all the faculty members knows me by my name as well as my nature, what I have do for IIT Delhi. And like as a representative I of PhD, I was the PhD representative at IIT Delhi, and also got the Best Sec Representative Award by Director IIT Delhi. So these are the some things. But really, IIT Delhi got gave me various opportunities, because I never flew on aeroplane. But after getting into IIT, I have been getting a chance to visit so many countries to give my research, uh, to present my research papers over the, because as Pradeep sir told, like I have done my PhD from IIT Delhi. So that is changed the whole thing in my career. And there are some few pics which I wish to share with you, which shows the journey. These are pictures which shows all like our hostel. I belong to Nilgiri hostel. So these are the hostel pictures, and director Professor Surendra Prasad when gave award. These are some agitations also which we participated in it. The birthday celebration, how the bumps was there, and all the things. The Nescafe, which is no more now. Professor M.S. Soda, which was a deputy director at that time. Professor V.K. Tripathi, my guide, and Nobel laureate Professor Gerard Moru. So these all opportunities comes to me only when I get into the IIT. I got a chance to meet various Nobel laureates because of IIT Delhi, and like I got a chance to work with them. So these are some of the works, like things which we have done in IT rendezvous and a lot of
So,
things.
Updesh, I am
Yeah.
also very keen to understand from you that on the education in the rural side, how are you running those initiatives? Is there a way of financing them? How do you how do you measure the efficacy of those? So something about those I'm very keen to understand from you.
Okay, sir. After a few slides, I'm coming
Okay,
to that NEEV
sure,
initiative. Just showing this some glimpse, just memories.
sure.
Uh, yeah. So these are the pics of my Princeton University, and I got a chance to visit like Einstein's home, and like that was encouraging for every like any student. Like if you know about work with uh, the Nobel laureates. These are the Nobel laureates which discover many things like lasers, which fiber optics and all the things. So this is the initiative. This is called the National Education Enhancement in Villages. It is run by most of the IT alumni, and like we work a lot of areas like nowadays it's a problem of pollution, so we also work on the pollution problem, like how we can make ecopreneur in villages, and like prime minister told that they can double the income of villagers, but if they follow our guidelines, then their income can be the fifth time. So in this pandemic also we are working on forefront areas like distributing mask, distributing food to all the needy people who have lost their jobs and all the things. So these are the some pics, just a glimpse. Also we are working on this pandemic, like we have developed a app, a digital app, so that the government school kids also can get this facility to work from home online things. So these are some pics which we do with the kids, like a distribution of stationery, celebrations, learning while doing with small things. So these are the like even like it's a very important thing. Like many of the our IT alumni are supporting us. Like a team of IT alumni from Chandigarh, they came to our slum areas regularly to interact with the kids and make them aware about the science. We work also environment and plantations and distribution of like these are the skill development centers of the women's also. So these are the some of the initiatives uh, we are doing in NCR region. So okay, these
Very
are
good,
just
because what you are doing is you are actually having an impact at the coal face. You see, you are
yeah.
trying to bring about a change and impact the lives of the people and help them achieve kind of a thing. Now, another thing is that you also seem to be very actively involved in STEM. What are you doing in STEM?
Sir, that is like ISTM is a initiative of Prime Minister Office. So actually, what we are doing, we are collecting all the facilities which was owned by the laboratories or the universities or the research labs on the same platform, so that like there is a simple example, like if I owned a 4 crore or maybe 5 crore HRTM, and the neighboring person needs it, but because it was like purchased by me, so I don't want to share it with the other neighboring university or things, but it is owned by like purchased from the government money. So I have whatever the time I can spend on that. After that, I have to give it to the needy person, like who can easily take advantage of that machine. So by these concept कि भाई हमें क्या करना है कि उसे एफिशिएंसी बढ़ानी है उस मशीन से, कि भाई
Excellent.
एक ही बंदा यूज ना करे उसे 10 लोग यूज करके उसकी कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव से उससे फायदा उठा सकें. So that platform is like that, in which all the laboratories are participating. तो दिस इज लाइक ए प्लेटफॉर्म लाइक फ्लिपकार्ट के, वहाँ पे सारी चीज़ें हमारे पास हैं. हम लोग वहाँ पे, जैसे मैं हूँ, मेरे पास HR टैब नहीं है, तो मैं वहाँ पे इस पोर्टल पे जाऊँगा अपना देखूंगा कि किस लोकेशन में मुझे वो फैसिलिटी प्रोवाइड हो सकती है, वहाँ पे मैं उसे स्लॉट को बुक करूंगा और फॉर मिनिमम चार्जेस उससे मैं एक्सेप्ट कर लूंगा, जिससे कि मैं अपना रिसर्च का काम वहाँ पे कर सकूँ। इवन वहाँ पे मेंटर्स भी हैं, इवन जो आपके बिग बिग मशीन्स हैं उनका जो सर्विस प्रोवाइडर्स हैं वो भी वहाँ पे हैं। तो ऑल द रिसर्च एक्टिविटीज आर ऑन द same platform. So that is also a tagline, linking research with researchers.
So
So
I
this is,
really love this because, you know, when we talk about bringing a change, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that we're going to reshape the world. Even
yes,
small
yes.
steps in terms of capacity utilization and looking at how assets can be used by a wide number of people can have a very meaningful impact.
Yes, 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 sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Oh, fabulous. So, with that, I think I would like to thank you very much. And everybody, please give a big round of applause to Updesh. It was lovely to hear about these thoughts and how we can go about taking small steps which have a big impact. End of the day, this is what I take away as the key message, you know. So lovely to hear from you, and I wish you all the best in all whatever initiatives that you are doing.
Thank you, sir.
So
Thank you very
take
much.
care. And now, our friend Aparna is still having difficulty, technology problems. So we will now move on to the last item on the agenda, which is getting Sanjay and Anirban to talk about newsletter number 2, GCC newsletter number 2. So over to you, Sanjay and Anirban.
Thank you, Pradeep sir. I don't know if Sanjay sir is here. He had a meeting, so I think he left. So he asked
Hello,
me to.
Anirban, I'm here.
Oh, you're here?
Anirban,
Oh,
I'm
okay,
here.
yeah. You're here. Okay, perfect.
Hello,
perfect.
everybody. I
Perfect.
switched from that meeting to this.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So this is Sanjay from Houston, and we've got Anirban from
IIT Delhi.
Montreal. So over to you. We have a 3-member editorial board, which is Sanjay, Anirban, and Preeti. So we have with us today Anirban and Sanjay. So who's going to take the floor and give us a bit of a walk down?
I'm taking it first. Anirban will continue.
Yeah, sure. Perfect.
So I want to just, we've been trying to get this newsletter 2 out. And the idea is to make it relevant to what's going on in the global world. So Anirban came up with a very, very good idea. Let's share with the global community how we celebrate Diwali this month, globally across the world. And I think this will be a unique opportunity. I back it up. I think this is great. So the reason I came online is to really appeal. I asked Pradeep sir to give us a few minutes that when you're done with Diwali celebration at your house,
We've lost you, Sanjay. Anirban, can you pick up the threads?
So it's basically like when you're done with Diwali celebrations or you're in the process, you might just want to click a picture and send it to us. So we'll have different people from all over the world sending us a picture of their celebration. It can be like what you're doing. It can be what you spot while driving back home, someone outside their house, or some decoration. So it's just like a diverse thing. Like you spot some house in, for example, say US, which is very well decorated with lights, and we have another picture with some house, say from Australia, okay, who are celebrating Diwali. So we'll make a collage and we'll put it on one of the pages. So
I
that's
think
the idea.
this is a great idea. And folks, the best entry gets a virtual bottle of wine from me, which will be actually replicated and converted into a real bottle of wine as and when I have an opportunity to meet the person with the best entry. Folks, let's make this happen. We've got people from all over the world. Let's send through your entries. Let's send through. I know that in Australia, We've got lots of interesting aspects how Diwali is celebrated. But I won't let you on because I am also in the contest. So over to you. So let's get different parts of the world kind of sending through how Diwali, and let's get a collage too. And also, our editorial team is always interested in interesting stories.
Sure.
The key objective is engagement, engagement, engagement. It's all about the community. So if you've got anything interesting, please send it through to Anirban, Sanjay, Preeti. So that be the
And so it's one more thing.
yes,
Sorry,
please.
just one more thing. Like the newsletter 2 is nearly done. And we have quite a lot of content. We have IC Impacts. We have Harinder Sir's Batch of 96 collage. It's a very nice collage. We have the SIG sessions that we had for tech and artificial intelligence, the GCC ambassador profiles. So, and we're also introducing each of our global advisory board members, one issue at a time. So I think with the collage, it's going to be like a really cool thing. So by November end, hopefully we'll get this on the table.
So a big thanks from all of us, Anirban, Sanjay, and Preeti, for this fabulous effort in keeping the communication, active between various GCC's communities. Now, if that be the case, it is 2:20 a.m. in Sydney. So I will say good morning, good afternoon, good mid-afternoon, good night in different parts of the world. Enjoy your
Sleep well,
day.
Pradeep.
Enjoy your day, night, and look forward to more interesting sessions. I'll just let you onto a secret. We have GCC, where we meet every fortnight. We have GCC Special Interest Group, which is focused on emerging technologies, and we meet every alternate fortnight. Now, there's a third initiative where some of us in this group are working on, and this is going to be, it's a secret at the moment, but you will hear about it in the next couple of weeks. Till that, bye for now. Have a lovely day once again, and take care. And don't forget to send the Diwali photos.
Please.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.